break out the bell-bottoms and the leisure suits, because for Season 4, the Great Pop Culture Debate is turning back the clock to the 1970s for the booty-shakingest musical genre of all time. It's disco, baby. The disco era brought dozens of insanely catchy songs that are still bangers even by 2020 standards. And now, nearly 50 years after those songs debuted, we want to know, what is the best disco song ever? I misunderstood the assignment and became a nacho man. Now I am the size of a village, people. I'm your host, Eric Lesniak.
Wow.
Right? It's bad. The worst one I've ever done.
Oh my God.
Don't stop till you get enough.
She doesn't go here.
You committed to it, though.
I did. Always commit. Don't stop till you get enough. And who could ever get enough of the delightful Gary Jackson?
Hey, everyone.
Hello. He's shaking his groove thing straight to Boogie Wonderland. It's Derek Bakita.
Choo choo. Beep beep.
Hey. And Carissa Kloss, I'm glad you're home. I can tell you really miss me.
Well, Eric, you can ring my bell any day.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Ah! Thank you. Get into it, folks, because that's the energy we're going to have this whole episode. It's going to be wild. So before we get into the debate, how does this work? We made a poll of roughly 100 mega popular disco songs from the 1970s. 50 people took the poll. We tallied their votes, ranked their picks by popularity, and added them to a bracket. Now we argue about it and insult each other, all for your amusement. Want to play along at home? You can. Head to greatpopculturedebate.com and go to polls and brackets. There you'll find the downloadable listener brackets for this and every episode of our little show. Do our picks match up with yours? Do you think we've danced ourselves dizzy? Let us know by dropping a comment on this episode at our website or by yelling at us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And lastly, if you're curious about how we went from the top 32 down to the Sweet 16, become a Patreon supporter of our podcast. Our Patreons at the $5 level or higher get exclusive access to the warm-up / part 1 for each episode, in which we work our way through all of round 1. It's like a whole bonus episode for each topic, and it includes arguments you will not hear anywhere else. And it's also just one of our great Patreon perks, so please consider supporting us on Patreon today. With that out of the way, let's pop some Quaaludes, make our way to the dance floor, and start the debate. We're getting into round 2, and we were feeling the beat from the tambourine of ultimate #1 seed Dancing Queen by ABBA. But have you heard about the new dance craze of 5 seed La Freak by Chic? I'm going to have Gary talk about La Freak while I will take on Dancing Queen. Go for it, Gary.
Freak out. Boom. Let's start there. We're going to start right there. Sorry, any tenors that was not singing properly.
Another tenor, I will forgive you.
Thank you, sir. Let's start with it. Literally, the lyrics. Dance craves. Like, it's in there. So disco is about dancing, and this song is telling y'all to get up and dance and be part of this, like, this revolutionary thing while you're on drugs and high as hell, which I appreciate. What I love about this song is just that funk, the guitar. Like, it really is like, it really just makes you like scrunch up your nose and just like really put that ugly face on and get into it and just like dance. And so the freak it is.
I agree with you. And here's the thing. We talked about this in part 1. There's no bad songs on this bracket.
Except for Xanadu, which is gone.
Which is gone.
How dare you, lady?
Chris is choosing violence. She's choosing violence.
I choose the side of truth.
Yeah.
I don't know you. I don't understand the question, and I will not respond to it. Xanadu is for the children. No, but no, seriously. There's no bad songs on this bracket. There were no bad songs in the top 32. There's certainly no bad songs in the Sweet 16. So Le Freak is a great song, and it's the only one that we had by Chic on the top 32, which is shocking because there were so many amazing disco songs by that group. Although I don't know if Nigel Rodgers did write / produce some of the other ones on here. I think he did. In fact, I'm almost positive he produced / wrote the next one that we're going to be talking about. But I can't not say ABBA Dancing Queen and move it forward. I can't. Say what you will about Le Freak, and it is kind of the grittier, sexier side of disco, whereas ABBA's Dancing Queen is the ethereal. It's like proto Karens, but like not in a negative way.
Wow.
I'm serious. Like every white girl heard this, oh, it's my song. And they went out to the dance floor and they just put their arms up and they twirled. And I'm not mad at them for that. No, but in all seriousness, it's a beautiful song. It's soaring. It's not operatic, but it's very orchestral. It's a sonic experience. And when you are on the dance floor and this is playing, it just sweeps you up. Whereas The Freak is kind of a get down, get funky song. Dancing Queen is a much more that's a tripping on drugs song, right? Like, can you imagine being at Studio 54, literally pumping poppers through the air vents, and those people going wild for this song? That's
much twirling.
The good old days.
Twirling towards freedom. So for me, it's got to be Dancing Queen. Carissa, where are you coming down on this?
I'm with the swirl of Dancing Queen.
All right, and Derek?
Y'all are crazy. Okay, so here's where I'm gonna come down for Le Freak, and the reason why I'm coming down for Le Freak, dear listeners, is if you become a Patreon and go to our warm-up episode, you will hear me offering much more nuanced arguments about why this one should go over this one, and you know the blended genres in some of these disco songs. Well, for main episode, Derek, you're getting like disco purist. I'm voting for the disco songs. And honestly, like, I get it. I get why Dancing Queen is a 1 seed. The superior disco song is Le Freak by Chic.
Why? I want to hear why it's
just it's got some stank to it. Like I get the whole like ladies out in their caftans twirling on the fucking dance floor. I get that. But Le Freak like makes you want to like bump and grind. It makes you maybe want to have like a Soul Train moment. Like you know what I mean? Like it will get you on the dance floor. Dancing Queen is a song that everyone knows, and that's why it's a 1 seed. That does not mean it is the best disco song. Period.
Yeah, but you know you're going to live your caftan fantasy in Provincetown to Dancing Queen. You will be twirling. You will be twirling.
I will be. And that's the thing, like, Derek had me at, you're going to want to do a Soul Train dance line. I was like, okay. But then you lost me at, you're going to live your caftan fantasy. Like,
that's the song that Dancing Queen is. Like,
That's
if it
who I
were a
wanna be.
garment, it's a caftan fantasy with the hat.
yes. And like
or
your
a turban.
your blown out hair and like a sex on the beach in your hand.
Yes, that you're spilling on everyone.
Everyone.
As you
Terrible.
twirl.
Yes. So for me, it's still Dancing Queen. Okay, so Carissa, you're Dancing Queen. Derek and Gary, you're both Le Freak.
Yes.
It's a tie. And when we have a tie and we have seeds, the higher seed wins, which means it's Dancing Queen. So Dancing
Yay.
Queen advances. I want to say everyone here did an excellent job in that argument, and there are no losers. Except Le Freak. So, speaking of winning, the gays keep winning. Diana Ross's I'm Coming Out is a 3 seed, and it's up against Peaches and Herb's Shake Your Groove Thing, a 2 seed. And I'm going to have Derek shake his peaches, although you're really more of an eggplant guy.
Wow, branding.
Wow.
There we go. Carissa, I'm going to have you take it out on the boss, Miss Ross, and I'm going to have Carissa go first.
Okay, so I'm coming out. It is June. It is Pride Month. Like, talk about anthems. Diana Ross is a summer icon, a disco icon, a female songstress icon, and a gay icon. So that's 4 drinks, everybody. And it is such an all of those things kind of song. It is a gay song. I'm coming out. You know, it is a summer song. It is a post-pandemic song. It is, you know, kind of the song of our moment right now, if we choose to let it be. So
I love that. That's so sweet. Derek, talk to me about Shaking Your Groove Thing.
That is so sweet, and you're so wrong. You're so wrong.
I might
Listen,
be right, and
the disco purist rears his head again. Shake Your Groove Thing is disco. It is disco. It is go do a line of coke, get back on that dance floor, bump into Halston, bump into Liza, have a three-way with both of them. It is pure disco. It's just so good. It's got a groove to it. It's got like and I say this because I love I'm Coming Out, and for Patreon subscribers, you have heard me argue for I'm Coming Out in round one, but I'm Coming Out gives me the same vibes as Dancing Queen. And it would be unfortunate if Le Freak went out and Shake Your Groove Thing went out, and then we have to put Dancing Queen against I'm Coming Out. Like, I get that that's like a more even matchup, but disco purism, come on.
It's a compelling argument. I do think it's bold of you to assume that if Halston and Liza Minnelli were in a room, there would be any cocaine left for anyone to do. Gary, where are you on this one?
Oh, I'm torn. Because
I thought it was the beginning of a Donna Summer song right there.
She. Yeah. Let me just think about this for just a hot more second. Like I was Derek. Okay.
Yeah, I hear you, because my initial thought was I was going to go for Diana Ross here. For all the reasons that Carissa point, iconic. It is the moment, right, that we're in. But I think Derek does make an interesting argument about the grittier side of disco. We want to make sure that we're like, if you're on the dance floor, which is and I think Shake Your Groove Thing is an easier song to dance to than Le Freak. Personally, I think it's got a slightly slower BPM. And I'm completely uncoordinated and can't really dance whatsoever, but so it's really more in my wheelhouse. I'm torn here too, but I have to say, if I have to pick one of them, Jesus Christ, I guess I would go with Shake Your Groove Thing.
Oh, okay.
Where are you going, Gary?
I think I'm gonna have to go with Carissa then.
Great. So we're split again.
Yeah.
And who's the higher seed, do we think?
I'm
Shake Your Groove Thing is a 2.
Shake Your Groove Thing is a 2.
Really? And I'm Coming Out as a 3.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
I'm not either. That was hard.
I mean, how can you be? It's such a good song.
I think your point about what it could potentially be going up against, that's the swayer for me.
You got a strategery.
Yeah.
Exactly. I will also say that, I mean, certainly I'm Coming Out is one of those kind of evergreen songs. It gets played every Pride. It's like, right, it's canon. But Shake Your Groove Thing also has a surprisingly long-lasting pop cultural relevance. It gets sampled and featured on soundtracks constantly. It's just one of the, and like that funky electro line that opens that song. There is something that's really undeniable about it. I think I'm Coming Out is a kind of fun, like, toss your hair, like, woo, let's go out for brunch song. And Shake Your Groove Thing is really more of a get funky, get into it, get loose song. So I'm not mad about it advancing, personally.
I agree. Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
So next we have an extraordinarily brutal battle, and I don't know how we're going to get through that if we were like tormented over Peaches and Herb. It's Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive, a 1 seed, versus Sister Sledge's We Are Family, a 4 seed. And I want Carissa to explain why Gloria should survive. And Gary, you've got all your sisters. Do you have Sister Sledge? So I'm going to have Gary go first.
So, okay. I think it's important. I'm going to hit you with some facts, okay? So Carissa's argument won't stand, okay, Carissa? This is very hard. Not only did this song go gold, #1 in R&B and #2 in pop. And I know, Derek, pop, soul, I know how you feel about it. But this song was recorded in one take, y'all, by Kathy herself. So, like, the fact that was recorded in one take by a 19-year-old, and this song is what it is today, like, not only is she a brilliant mind and a writer and artist within all her rights, but just just how this song really brings everyone together, no matter, like, where they come from, what they look like. And I think that's what disco really, the essence of disco was. You know, so that's why We Are Family should win, Carissa.
All right, Carissa, what do you got for me?
Okay, so Gary hit you with some facts, and I'm going to hit you with some feelings.
Oh.
So, buckle up. If you are a semi long term listener to the podcast, you know that I was on the best breakup songs panel. And I do believe it came down to this song versus Alanis. You Ought to Know.
Correct. Yeah, those are the final two.
And I'm not going to spoil who won, but I will say that at that time I was 100% in the Alanis camp. Fast forward to now. Post-pandemic, I am a divorcee, and I've been through some shit. And so now when I think about ending a long-term relationship and just the feels and the things, like Alanis, she was fucking here for me, let me just say. But Donna Summer, I Will Survive.
Gloria Gaynor.
Sorry, yes. Sorry. Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive. I changed those fucking locks. So I paid a locksmith. I mean, that was the song that ultimately ended up speaking to me, which is what makes it hyper relevant, which is why I think that it gets the edge over We Are Family, because I mean, it's 2020 plus, and this song is still like a fucking guidebook for wronged women. So there we go.
And not just wronged women, but also the gay community. And I want to get to this in a second because I actually think this particular matchup, Gary, you touched on this, kind of encapsulates what made disco so special from a social perspective. But it speaks to any wronged person. It was definitely held a very special place in the hearts of the gay community. It still does. But, more generalized acceptance, I Will Survive. It wasn't just the guy I liked dumped me song. It was also society is fucking terrifying and I have to live in shadows. And when you're out at the gay bar, it's the one place that you can actually feel alive, right? And I'll grant you, this is not the point of this particular debate, right? It's not about gay anthems. But I think Carissa's larger point that this song, 50 years almost after its release, continues to be an incredibly potent touchstone for people who are going through pain and they're scared but need to find some reason to continue. And that's incredibly important, which is not in any way to knock We Are Family, which has that great a connectedness, a sense of community, whether they're your actual blood relatives or your found family, which I think everybody on this podcast knows that feeling, right? Of that found family and how important they are. I'm going to throw it to you, Derek, before I get fully on my soapbox. That wasn't even the real That was the warm up. But Derek, go ahead.
I'm going to surprise you, and I'm actually going to vote for We Are Family. I hear Carissa's argument, and if I were a person who was easily swayed by that argument, I would be with you. Carissa, I am with you.
So if you had feelings, that's what you're saying.
I haven't had since 1996. So, I mean, I pick We Are Family. I feel like I Will Survive is the thing that you need right after the breakup. We Are Family is the thing that's going to lift you up and keep you coasting.
Okay, let me just posit to you. If you are, as you have likely all of us been for the past, 15 months of pandemicness, by yourself, which song are you going to listen to that's going to make you not feel shitty about yourself? I mean, We Are Family is a song that's really awesome when you're surrounded by other people. But I Will Survive is a song that you can listen to by yourself that's not going to make you feel lonely. It's going to make you feel empowered.
I hear you.
These are excellent arguments. Let me just say that I'm very proud of my panel right now. Y'all are killing it. Here's what I'm going to say about this particular matchup and about the power of disco in general. So I think we already said there's no bad songs in this matchup, blah, blah, blah. Disco still gets dismissed by a lot of people as being lame and cheesy. But one of the things that I've realized watching some documentaries over pandemic, the Bee Gees one in particular, which I mentioned in part one, but also there's some other ones, is how much disco was about people of color and women and the queer community really taking some agency and creating spaces and sound for themselves.
Yes.
And it was the reason that disco, quote unquote, died, which can be tied to Disco Demolition Night, which is a thing that many people now don't even know happened. Like literally, what happened was there was this one particular radio commentator out in the Midwest, of course, who decided to really launch this attack on disco music. The reasons for it are nebulous. He just didn't like it. And what I've come to realize, it was unfuckable white people who did not like women, people of color, gay people expressing themselves, finding places where they could be free, and music that like and kind of encouraged this. And so what did they do? They literally went to a baseball stadium, encouraged people to bring disco records, and they literally blew some of them up and then rolled others with like a steamroller. That's crazy. That's the type of shit that is going on now, and they would try to do it again. So it's like cancel culture in a very proto form, right? So when I look at this matchup, I see a black woman and I see a family of color, and I love it. Now, there is certainly, we need to acknowledge Gloria Gaynor had some very problematic parts of her career where she was very anti-gay. But I feel like more than any other matchup in this Sweet 16, this one gets to the heart of, this was music for people who were really taking ownership, minorities, whatever way you want to look at it. It was their music. It was their soul. It was their style. And I just love that we have this matchup. Both great songs. If I have to pick one, I'm going with I Will Survive. I have to. Sorry, that was really long and rambling.
No, that was solid.
Getting deep.
Yes.
I just think that we need to recognize, and I if you are listening to this, I don't know why you'd be listening to this if you think disco music is dumb, but I would encourage you to try to figure out where that's coming from, because there's nothing dumb about disco music. The lyrics are repetitive, what pop music isn't. The instrumentation is amazing. The rhythms, like there is it's alchemy. That's what disco is. Good disco is musical alchemy, and the fact that it continues to be dismissed, I think, is really it is like white patriarchal culture trying to stifle still to this day.
And Eric, I'm so glad that you said that, though, because the overarching theme for this podcast is there are no bad disco songs, but there are a whole lot of really good disco songs that, in the part 1 warm up, we talk about the things that didn't make the brackets. There are really good, well-written songs, really great instrumentation, things that you can like just lose yourself on the dance floor. And there's something transcendent about that. And if all you know about disco is Staying Alive and YMCA and Dancing Queen, like, open your eyes a little bit more. You will be shocked to see what you find.
And I would point out to you, every one of those are by white artists. Just putting that out there. Anyway, I'm so sorry, listeners. You are probably tired of being lectured. That was not my intent, but we didn't have much of a script for this episode because everything was up for grabs in part 1. So I believe we are currently tied. I still have myself and Carissa for I Will Survive, and Gary and Derek for We Are Family. Is that correct?
Yep.
I Will Survive is a 1 seed, so that will advance.
Yep.
We were unanimous in favor of Sylvester's You Make Me Feel Mighty Real, a 3 seed, versus the Village People's YMCA, a 2 seed. I do think that is the correct call. YMCA is hyper popular. We're not going to knock that. But in terms of what is a better song, no contest, in my opinion.
Yes.
Next up, it was Donna Summer's Last Dance, also a 1 seed, versus Lip Sync's Funkytown, a 4 seed. I'm going to go ahead and find my way to a place that's right for me. Derek is going to find his last chance for romance. Derek, go first.
So, some of you heard me argue for Last Dance in the previous round, and it bears repeating that this song has a story behind it. It is actually... it won Donna Summer an Oscar and a Golden Globe, which is kind of amazing. It also gave Donna Summer an acting role in the movie Thank God It's Friday. I also brought up in round 1 that this was the #1 disco song on Billboard for all of 1978. And again, I will repeat it again. 1978 was a big year for disco. It was huge. It was like, if you're thinking about like the crescendo of Studio 54, it's like right there. It's right there. So the fact that this one was #1 for the entire year really says something. I'm not going to knock Funkytown. I fucking love Funkytown. And, you know, we argued in a previous podcast in the one hit wonders of the 70s and 80s for Funkytown, and we all loved that song. But for me, Last Dance is just more quintessential.
Yeah, and here's the thing: I'm repping Funkytown here, but I 100% think Last Dance should win this. We've talked about Funkytown on at least 3 episodes of this podcast, and I've been a Ride or Die Funkytown person for decades. Total like departure, but there's a book called What Would You Rather, and it's like supposed to put like impossible decisions, and one of them would you never be able to listen to music again or listen to only one song for the rest of your life, and it's lip syncs Funkytown. I was like, where is the dilemma here? It's obviously lip syncs Funkytown. Like, I could listen to this song forever and I'd be completely happy. You've got the doot 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 doot. You got the cowbell going. It's got rhythm. It's got bop to it. Like, everything about it is super fun, and it's just fun, cheesy pop, right?
It really
but I
is,
think
yeah.
of it as more of a pop song than a disco song. Not that it wasn't. Like, totally, you can see people in bad polyester outfits on a dance floor with the disco ball and Funkytown's playing, right? I can envision this.
Mhm.
But Last Dance is a disco like classic. It is disco. So, Gary, where are you on this one?
I am a Last Dance for sure. I could just, this is one of those songs you can close your eyes and just imagine yourself in a nice, beautiful gown with like just sequins all over and just like so pretty. Yeah, Last Dance. I sat here with my eyes closed thinking about this song while you guys were talking, and I was like, absolutely, it's Last Dance, Donna, for sure.
And Carissa.
Yeah, I think I initially had Funkytown here, but it's Last Dance for me.
Yeah, it is disco to me. It is
Yeah.
quintessentially disco to me.
Yep.
Next up, it's the Bee Gees. All speaking of quintessentially disco,
Mhm.
You Should Be Dancing, which is a 6 seed, versus Chaka Khan's I'm Every Woman, a 2 seed. And so I'm going to have Derek take on the Bee Gees, and
Mhm.
Gary, you're going to discuss I'm Every Woman. I'm going to have
Yes.
Gary go first.
Okay, so it's Shaka again for sure. What I'm gonna hit some more facts, Carissa. It's been working for me, so I'm gonna see how far I can get with this. It was number 4 on the Billboard 100 and a UK single. It was number 30 for Derek on the disco. But what I love about this song is the octave build up that she does. I guess it's like in the middle of the song, like I'm every woman.
Yes.
Like, I was just thinking about that. I was like, Beyonce stole that from her because Beyonce is that's her go-to. But go ahead, Shaka. Shaka gave it to us that. But also, like, this song was featured in the Bodyguard soundtrack, which we all know Whitney has a cover of this song and is uber popular. But Whitney used to do she did backup singing for this song as well for Shaka, and they were really good friends in real life.
That.
Yes, in the video with Whitney, Shaka like kissed her belly, and this is when she was pregnant.
Yeah.
And so to know that this song made such an impact on these two powerful vocalists, artists' lives, I have to go to this, and it goes back to disco bringing people together, and this is the way that it brought them together, and they enjoyed and celebrated each other's success. I'm all for it.
I love that. Again, I love these sweet arguments. Derek, the Bee Gees, You Should Be Dancing.
Yes, I'm glad that you have tasked the disco purist to argue for this song, because out of all of the songs on the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack by the Bee Gees, some will say that Staying Alive is like the more iconic song. Take a drink. Personally, You Should Be Dancing is a better disco song in my opinion. And I'm not alone in this because it was number 1 for a week. Not on the disco charts, on Billboard's Hot 100, it was number 1. So like in the entire country, it hit number 1. It actually was the song that launched the Bee Gees into their disco career. This song, not Staying Alive, this song. It's got a good something. It's got an it factor to it. And when I hear Staying Alive come on, like I roll my eyes a little bit, but when I hear You Should Be Dancing, because it's sort of like it doesn't get as much play as far as Bee Gees disco songs. Like, I get into it. I am taking nothing away from Shaka Khan, but disco purist in me is going to vote for You Should Be Dancing because, damn, it is a disco song.
Carissa.
I hear your argument, Derek, and as much as I appreciate all of it, I'm going with Shaka Khan.
Interesting. I'm with Derek on this one. I 100% understand what he's saying. Staying Alive is a great strut song. It has the disco attitude, but You Should Be Dancing is the better disco floor song. And I think that bass line, the kind of swelling, like electronic effects in You Should Be Dancing, it builds. And I love a song that builds, and it feels like it's getting faster and faster and faster as it goes. But I don't actually think it does. I think it just feels that way. I think it is to me, it is probably the best Bee Gees dance song. It's infectious in a way that Staying Alive has a very kind of low key vibe to it. This one is full on, you're on the dance floor and you're going hard. So I'm giving it to Bee Gees here. But if Carissa and Gary are stuck with Shaka, you guys are sticking with Shaka?
Yes, I am.
We have another tie.
It's the Shaka Whitney thing that really tipped it for me. It really did. the belly kissing.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
It's such a sweet video too. It really is. Shaka's a 2 seed and You Should Be Dancing is a 6 seed. I will argue this also. So on the original ballot that we had, there were probably 4 or 5 Bee Gees songs, and I suspect that the Bee Gees songs kind of diluted the votes for each other because there are other major Bee Gees songs that were not on here at all, like Jive Talkin's not on there. Another great song with a great opening lick, but I suspect that having multiple Bee Gees songs, much like Donna Summer, ultimately hurt some of the songs. So that's just my take on it. So we are advancing Shaka Khan.
We are, but I want to say one last thing because I know that we're advancing Shaka Khan. I want people to keep in mind that it's the topic that we're arguing is best disco song. Okay, I think that people have a high opinion of the song, not just because of Shaka Khan's version, but also Whitney's version. And I feel like that's why for people it has staying power. But like Whitney's song isn't a disco song.
No.
True.
So
very true.
We are choosing a song that has longer staying power in pop culture, but isn't necessarily more of a disco song.
And so if we were only voting on the disco version, you think it would have seated lower?
I'm not sure. I mean, like it's hard to put ourselves in a vacuum and say, okay, well, we're going to choose, I'm Everyone by Shaka Khan, not and who's Whitney Houston? I don't know her. Like we're never going to say that, and I think that because the Bee Gees are in multiple parts of these brackets, that's why we're less likely to vote for that song, even though it's a fantastic song.
Yep.
I think there's truth to that.
Yeah.
I also will say this. I prefer Shaka Khan's version of I'm Every Woman to Whitney's. Please don't strike me down, gay God. But
well, no, and honestly, because Whitney has so many good songs. Like, let Shaka have this song.
Right.
And Shaka has many good songs too, but I hear your point that Whitney's catalog is much deeper. But okay, we're advancing Shaka Khan's I'm Every Woman to the Elite 8. But guess what? The Bee Gees are here to stay. And in fact, they're staying alive, which is a 1 seed. And it's up against Don't Tell Me This Way by Thelma Houston, a 4 seed. This is another one where it's like, Jesus Christ, how do we make a decision? Carissa, why should the Bee Gees advance here?
Well, first of all, thanks y'all for saying all these bad things about Staying Alive in the last round. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. But like, okay, so I am an 80s baby who came to the 70s and the 90s, which is, everyone does their like 2 decades ago is the coolest thing, right?
True, yes.
And I came to the 70s through Saturday Night Fever, which I watched a bajillion times. And so my knowledge of disco started there, went to like compilation, like This Is Disco Volume 1, compilation CDs. I'm not joking. So, I come to it from from a place of discovery via very mainstream vehicles. So Staying Alive is Tony Manero with those shoes folding that slice of pizza and strutting down the sidewalk in New York. And it was my entry point, and it remains so pure, so lovely, so encapsulating for this whole moment. And clearly I'm not the only one, since this is seated so highly by our voters as well. So it is the like iconic entry disco song, if not disco song, period.
I cannot argue anything against that. And I stand by my statement that Stayin' Alive is a better disco encapsulation, but I don't think it's the better Bee Gees disco dance song. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm looking at these two songs based strictly on which is the better song, I give it to Don't Leave Me This Way by Thelma Houston, which is explosive. That's the only way I can describe the song. Carissa previously said that it's that wonderful play with the soft and then the hard and the slow and the fast, where it starts out and it's very gentle and plaintive, and then it just comes on like a freight train, right? And I love that. This particular song, I feel it has that quality that great disco songs feel to me, where there's this almost carnal animal energy to the end of it, where she's just pleading with you. Don't leave me this way, satisfy the need in me. Like, we've all been there. It's Saturday night. It's 1 a.m. The grinder tricks are not biting. Like, Thelma, like, forecasted the future, right? We've all been there, and then you end up at the sample sale outside the club at 3 a.m. and you take what you can get. So for me, it is a better song and it's a better disco song. But which song represents disco as a whole better? I give it to Stayin' Alive. So it's complicated. It's not an easy pick for me. Gary, what do you think on this one?
Oh, that was actually, you almost persuaded me to go with that one, but I'm going to stick with Stayin' Alive just because the funk of it is, I like it. Like, I love, I would say that the funk of it is just, I'm becoming a purist, Derek.
You're winning him.
Well,
over.
it's funny that you say that, because I am not voting for Stayin' Alive.
Oh my God.
Because it's disco cheese, and I don't like cheese. I am lactose intolerant for disco cheese. Don't Leave Me This Way. It takes you on a journey, and there's such emotion behind it. And they use it in the production of the Donkey Show. May it rest in peace. It's no longer at the ART in Cambridge, but like, it's a Don't Leave Me This Way. Just like, it gives you that emotional something. Stayin' Alive is just like, yeah, that's the disco song I know from that movie. Yeah. And I can't. No.
So Don't Leave Me This Way takes you on an emotional journey. Stayin' Alive struts you down the sidewalk eating a slice of pizza.
Absolutely.
Like, come on. I'm going to go with the pizza every time.
And it's also not just a sidewalk. It's a sidewalk in gritty 1970s New York City. And it's also who's eating that pizza, like the most Italian Guido ever. And
who is baby John Travolta, who's
so hot in that movie.
Yes.
Smoking. But also, like, Italians had a tremendous impact on disco, right? Giorgio Moroder. There's an entire industry over there. So I do feel like there's a lot of reasons why it is. Like, I hear what you're saying. You are not wrong, Derek. It is disco cheese, and we're not just talking about the pizza, but it also is just so fucking emblematic of what disco was that era. It is the distillation. So, okay, Derek, you're sticking with Don't Leave Me This Way.
Yes, on principle.
On principle. And I hear Carissa and Gary are with Stayin' Alive.
Yes.
Even if I didn't switch, if I stayed with Don't Leave Me This Way, it would still advance, because it would be 2 against 2, and Stayin' Alive is a number 1 seed.
Well, you know what? This is America, and cheese wins. So go with your cheese.
I will. I'll be.
I am from the dairy state. Wisconsin cheese is the best. And also, yes.
Queens. Finally, in round 2, La Belle's Lady Marmalade, a 3 seed, is up against Donna Summer's Hot Stuff, inexplicably a 7 seed. So I'm going to have Gary talk about Lady Marmalade, Creole Lady Marmalade, excuse me, and Carissa will be giving us some hot stuff this evening. And I'm going to have Gary go first.
So what I love about this song is that Miss Patty didn't even know that this song was like sexually like suggestive. And I love that, because first thing I think about is her Christmas, so it's like, it makes sense. It's like, of course it's Patty. Of course Patty didn't know. And that's why I even love this song even more, because it's literally all about like threesomes and sex, and I am here for it every single day. Sex, 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 sex positive. So that alone is why I love the song. But also, I think this song put LaBelle as a group like into one of the hottest like girl groups of that era, and like that. Obviously, we know that Patty career like really took off, and she's still around today. And so I think songs like that longevity, and you can see just where that person came from as an individual solo artist as well, is so important. But just how many covers, again, going back to like I'm Every Woman, like there's a lot of covers, but what I love about this song and the covers is that it switched to genres. Like like the rap with Little Kim and Pink cover this song, you know. I think that is awesome, and it also shows like women empowerment and like, you know, owning your body and just doing what the hell you want, and I love that. And Derek, for you again, this is number 7, disco. A ranked number 7, disco and dance, and 17th in UK. So for that, Derek, you should just vote for it, but. I mean, it's LaBelle and it's Miss Patty.
Miss Patty.
Miss Patty.
Carissa, hot stuff.
I don't want to be on the wrong side of Miss Patty because I also think about that Christmas performance.
Where are my backup singers?
But whenever I hear hot stuff, I think of that scene in the Full Monty where they're all in line and the song comes on, and this is the song that they've been working on. Does this hit resonate with y'all at all?
I remember the Full Monty. It's been a while since I've seen it.
This is the song that comes on, and they start kind of slowly in public doing the routine, and then, you know, it builds, and so it's kind of like this well-kept secret that is so wonderful that's why they're keeping it to themselves. And so it gives me, you know, happy feelings. But also, this song was the very first song to ever win the Grammy for female rock vocal performance, like the first year that it actually happened. Also, female rock performance, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
To me. But yeah, it's just quintessential Donna Summer. You know, it's got those hot stuff, like that's 2 beats that you hit, like it really, you know, it's the staccato kind of song that gets you moving.
It does for sure. Derek.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think you know which way I'm going with this one.
Derek.
Did he betray you?
He did.
So here's the thing, from a wanting to have balance in the force, I think it's good to have just one Donna Summer song advancing to the Elite 8. But on the other hand, if there's one person that's going to have more than one song on that Elite 8, it should be Donna Summer, right? She is our queen of disco. She deserves it. If I had my druthers, I would have Bad Girls on here instead of Hot Stuff. But I don't, because Bad Girls got knocked out. Yeah. But Hot Stuff is a good goddamn song. And really I mean, Gary, you're talking about sex positive, sex. I mean, Hot Stuff is literally, much like Don't Leave Me This Way, it is, I need to get laid tonight. I'm literally going out to the club to get dick. That is this song. And I celebrate that, right? So it also hit from a musicality. I mean, Lady Marmalade also. Great thing about Lady Marmalade, like not a lot of organ solos in disco music. Lady Marmalade has a great organ line to it. It's kind of really got almost a throwback element to it, and the harmonies with that group. It's a very iconoclastic disco song, but to me, it's still an iconic Take a Drink disco song. But Hot Stuff has just that boom, that booming bass, and then you get into that electric synth line, and then you get into the guitars and the chanting of the hot stuff. It is like a woman on the prowl, and she's gonna
Miss Cougar.
And yes, and it speaks to me, ladies and gentlemen. It speaks to my soul. And so for that reason, I'm voting for Hot Stuff. So I believe we have one for Lady Marmalade and Gary. Where are you, Carissa?
I'm Hot Stuff.
All right. And Derek, your hot stuff?
Yes, I am, sir.
All right. So that means it's a 7 seed that's advancing to the Elite Eight.
Yes!
Which is amazing. But that concludes round 2 for us, folks. And Bianca Jagger just showed up with her white horse. And yes, that is euphemism for drugs. So we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back. Hey, Kate.
Hey, Eric.
So I heard, and this may be true, that you were actually the Great Pop Culture Debate's very first Patreon subscriber.
Was I?
You were. You're not only a panelist, you're also a founder.
Also a founder. I mean, it does give me a feeling of joy to contribute towards high quality podcasts like the Great Pop Culture Debate so that, you know, like I get swag.
Yeah. What kind of swag do you get?
You get a button. That's the one I signed up for. Is there a tote? I feel like there should be a tote.
There's not a tote yet, but that's a great idea. I have some other ideas that I'm working on.
You get access to things early. You get access to Patreon only little mini-sodes. You get to hear the warm-ups before, when everyone's just kind of getting their little sea legs before they get into the main attraction. And you get season 0.
You get season 0. It's exactly right. You will never hear that otherwise, folks. And there's some great episodes in that, which include Best Madonna Single, Best RuPaul's Drag Race Lip Sync, Best 90s Cartoon. And the only way you can hear those is by getting a Patreon sponsorship for as low as $2 a month. Then you even get season 0 just for that. So thank you very much, Kate. We appreciate all of our Patreon sponsors. And if you do have the interest, please go to patreon.com/Great Pop Culture Debate and support us.
The Neatcast, your source for offbeat news, hot takes on sports, and deep dives into the paranormal. Join us every Monday and let's talk some bullshit. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all your favorite podcasting apps.
And we are back for round 3 of our Best Disco Song Debate. Before we get into the Elite 8 matchups, I want to ask my panel, where can people find you on social media so that they can yell at you and not just me? Derek, where do they find you?
So you can find me on Twitter and you can find me on Instagram at DRKMKT, which is basically my name without the vowels.
Indeed it is. Gary, what about yourself?
So you can find me on Instagram at Gary Music Man J or on Facebook at Gary Music Man Jackson.
Got it. And Carissa?
You can find me on Instagram semi-regularly and Twitter very rarely at Carissa Kloss, both with K's.
Perf. And you can find me, the only member of the panel actually alive during the disco era, at Eric Resniak on Twitter and Instagram, or you can just message at greatpopculturedebate.com on Instagram. We're also on Twitter as at culture_debate. Don't know why I made that decision. Regret it deeply, but here we are. So with that, we're going to summon the spirits of Halston, Andy Warhol, and 2/3 of the Bee Gees as we move on to our Elite 8 matchups. First up, it is Dancing Queen versus Shake Your Groove Thing, and I'm going to go around the horn for votes here. Gary, Dancing Queen or Shake Your Groove Thing?
Shake Your Groove Thing.
Carissa?
I'm with ABBA, Dancing Queen.
Derek?
I'm shaking my groove thing, damn it.
Yes.
I'm also with Dancing Queen here. Sorry. And the reason I made the argument earlier in this episode that it's, proto-Karens, twirling, dancing, but I feel as though I have done short shrift for this song because I do think musically, ABBA is amazing. And it really, it is instantly evocative of that time period. You hear that choral chords come on at the beginning of that song, and automatically you're in it, right? You are feeling the fantasy. We use that term a lot, but literally with Dancing Queen, I do actually believe that that's what's going on. I'm fully present. It just captures me every time. You can say that it lacks the funk and the grit of disco, but I think that you can have a wide range in disco. It can be both that gritty, sexy stuff. It can be just the glorious, we're dancing, we're living, let's all just get laid. That's Dancing Queen for me. So with 2, it's the number 1 seed and it will advance. Mm-hmm. Next up, we have I Will Survive versus You Make Me Feel Mighty Real by Sylvester, which we have yet to even discuss around the horn, starting with Carissa.
I'm going with I Will Survive.
Derek.
I'm sticking with my girl Sylvester.
All right, Gary.
I Will Survive.
Okay, so here's where things get tricky. So I'm going with Sylvester. You Make Me Feel Right and Mighty Real is actually my pick for the ultimate disco song. I realize that it's about to go out, so I'm going to take my time now to speak on it. This to me is the perfect disco song. It starts out with that thrumping bass line. You've got little bits of guitar flecked in there. But one of the things I love about disco is when it builds and it builds and it builds. And this is positively orgasmic by the end of that song. Earlier, I got on my soapbox and talked about how it's a genre for, people who were kind of outcasts or at least minorities kind of feeling their oats, if you will. No one is a better example of that than Sylvester, a queer trans person of color who created unbelievable music. And it's frankly shocking to me that Sylvester was able to have anywhere close to the career that they were. This song is unimpeachable. Like, literally, tell me something wrong about You Make Me Feel Mighty Real. I can listen to it every day, all day long, and I'm never going to get sick of it. Do I hear any objections?
No, but I love that.
And here's what I'm going to say about that too. Out of like literally every other disco song in this bracket of 32, this is the one that I stand most firmly on. And I stand most firmly on it because it is disco in its purest form, brought to you by the margins of society. Yeah. And to me, like that's if we're going to learn anything from this, boys and girls, it's that this is what we should be taking away from this whole argument is I Will Survive is an amazing song, but when we're arguing best disco song, you have to give it to Sylvester's You Make Me Feel.
But here's where we get to that part in the debate where I start arguing against my own picks. And I acknowledge that there's different metrics for success, right? And if we're talking about a song as an actual work of art, I think, well, frankly, they're both really good works of art. Honestly, I'm not even going to say one is better than the other. As a dance song, certainly it goes to Sylvester. But if we're talking about from a pop cultural standpoint, what is the better disco song that resonated more with more people? It's got to be I Will Survive. It is unquestionable to me that the people, I'm putting myself in the heads of the people listening to this at home right now, being like, what are you doing? You cannot have a Final Four best disco song and I Will Survive is not in there. You putz. So I'm completely fine with I Will Survive going on. Carissa and Gary, you're sticking with it?
Yes.
Sticking with it.
So, Derek, you and I can feel very comfortable and content in the knowledge that from a disco standpoint, a purist standpoint, Sylvester is the correct answer. But from a pop culture standpoint, I do think I Will Survive is the right answer. Are we agreed in that?
Yes.
I'm going to guess that Derek does not agree with me.
I don't, and I mean, I don't on principle simply because I am being pure to the title of this podcast, which is Best Disco Song, not best disco song that had an effect on pop culture. And
that's fair. And I love you for being true to yourself, and that's what I look for my panelists. I don't want you guys just going along with things.
Yeah.
But even if both of us stuck to our guns, I Will Survive advances because I believe You Make Me Feel as a 3 seed.
Yep.
Yeah. So I Will Survive advance. Last Dance versus I'm Every Woman. I want to start with Carissa.
Oh God.
Do the right thing, Carissa.
I don't know what the right thing is. Oh God, Donna Summer. I'm gonna go with Last Dance.
Derek.
You have chosen wisely.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. I'm looking at the potential head-to-head matchup in the final battle. And it's Dancing Queen against I Will Survive. Like, you guys can take that away. I don't even have a horse in that race. But when I'm talking about like the remaining disco songs, it has to be Donna Summer. Has to be.
Yeah. She's queen.
She is.
Gary, where are you on this?
Donna.
Okay. You're sure?
I'm positive. As much as I love I'm Every Woman and I gave like my spiel on it, yeah, I agree. Donna is disco queen.
Yeah, and I agree that to me this is a knockout. Nothing against Shaka. I think it's impressive, frankly, she made it to Elite Eight, but Last Dance, is it necessarily the best disco Donna Summer song? I won't go that far. Is it the best Donna Summer's song from a disco perspective that made the biggest impact in society? I think probably yes. And finally, we have Staying Alive versus Hot Stuff. I'm going to start with Gary.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go with Stand Alive, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Derek?
I know why you're going to vote for Staying Alive, and I know why you think that there needs to be a Bee Gees song in the Final Four, but you're wrong, and I'm voting for Hot Stuff, because I would love to hear an argument between the two Donna Summer songs. I would love to hear that argument.
We already had an all Donna on Donna matchup in round 1, by the way.
True.
We did have a hot Donna on Donna action.
But current listeners to the main episode have not heard that, and that's why you should become a Patreon.
Thank you. I love it. Plugging. Carissa.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going with feels here. And like I said previously, Staying Alive was my intro to disco. And I still see Tony with the pizza. So
I'm going with Staying Alive here. I think that gives us, well, I know it gives us a Final Four of ABBA's Dancing Queen versus Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. The Donna Summer's Last Dance versus Bee Gees Staying Alive. I always take a pause here and say, is this the Final Four that I expected? It's actually not the Final Four that's in my bracket. It's I think there's at least 2 that are on here. But do I think it's the correct one? I do. I think these are actually the right answers. Are they the expected answers as well? I also think the answer is probably true. But I'm not mad about that, because I think there is something to be said for predictability in 2021. So first up, Dancing Queen versus I Will Survive. Around the horn, I'm going to start with Derek. Which one?
I Will Survive.
Gary.
I Will Survive.
Carissa.
I Will Survive.
Interesting. Dancing Queen was the number 1 pick of everyone. That was by far the highest vote getter, just putting that out there.
I'm fully making an emotional pick, so just owning that up front.
And that's okay. That's
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
Here's the part of the podcast where it's sad that we've gotten to the point where I'm like, here's the part where, but I question, would we be putting this one forward if it was not gay men and the women who love them? If it was a more general audience, do I think Dancing Queen could advance? I don't know. But it's irrelevant because 3 out of 4 of you are picking Dancing Queen.
Well, and here's the thing. I will say, Eric, is listeners to this podcast know what they're getting. They're getting gay men and the women that love them. So get into it.
Get into it. All right. So I Will Survive moves on to the final 2. Finally, it's Last Dance versus Staying Alive. And I'm going to start with Gary. Which one?
Last Dance, baby.
Carissa.
Staying Alive. I'm with the Bee Gees.
Derek.
I'm sticking with Donna Summer here.
I'm sticking with Donna Summer too.
Yes! I am gay gasping.
Just like my prolapsed anus. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Mom. My mom doesn't listen to this podcast. So that means we have 2 strong Black women in the final. That's the way I like it.
We love to see it.
Yes.
Yep. And I think it is appropriate. So I Will Survive versus Last Dance. You were going to say something, Derek?
And it's not just that. These are both 1 seeds.
They are 1 seeds.
Wow.
Correct.
Okay.
Derek, I Will Survive versus Last Dance. Choose your victor.
Oh my God. I'm sticking with Donna Summer on Disco Principle.
All right. Gary?
Miss Donna, honey.
Interesting. Carissa?
I changed my fucking lock. I am with Gloria here. I know this complicates your life.
No, I'm with you, actually, Carissa. I'm also on the
I
team.
know that's why
Gloria
it
Gaynor.
complicates your life.
No, it's fine. And I'm not going to go for a tie this one. We've done a couple ties. I'm not going to do it this time. So I'm going to encourage people to make fervent pleas. But here's where I'm coming down on this one. I do think that Last Dance is a wonderful song, and it's the song that you typically play at the end of when it's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Whereas I Will Survive, it is such a more potent song. It has more applications. It speaks to the human condition in a way. And I know that disco doesn't necessarily have to do that. Disco is about fun. Disco is about having, getting out on the dance floor and getting out your yayas and getting laid. But this song does all of that, and it also actually speaks to people who are going through some real shit. And so I think for that reason, it's multi-layered. I think Gloria's performance of it is spectacular. Side note, the version of it that's on Spotify is the remastered version, which is nowhere near as good as the original. But I have to give it to Gloria. So do either of Team Donna Summer want to argue?
Yes, I do. And I want to say I have nothing against I Will Survive. I think it is a lovely song. I think to not put forth the Queen of Disco as the final winner is a sin. And I think that she has had many opportunities to work her way forward in these brackets. I'm looking at them now, at least 3 or 4 Donna Summer songs in here. And if you listen to the warm up, there were many other Donna Summer songs that, that are just stellar songs. Dim All the Lights, I Feel Love, MacArthur Park, Spring Affair, to say nothing of her duet with Barbra Streisand. I think that as a disco artist, I award it to Donna Summer just for her oeuvre, but also this song is a 1 seed for a reason, and I get that I Will Survive is also a 1 seed, but like it's a pure disco song. It is.
Gary, do you have anything to add?
I just think it is such, like, just the lyrics of this song. Going back to what you kind of said, Eric, I feel like that can be applied to this song as well. And she's saying like this is her last chance of romance. Like, it's Donna. It's beautiful. It's such a beautiful song that does have a build up and to like expression. And I could see like little gay boys and girls and theys and thems and everything in between, just like being in the moment. And like, this is a song that really puts you in the moment. If you're in the middle of a dance floor, just twirling by yourself, like that is what I think the impact of the song is. And therefore I'm sticking with Miss Donna, and she's the queen,
So Carissa, please don't be mad at me, but they have swayed me. And I will say there's part of me that Derek's argument, like, we have to give it to her for her oeuvre, not just for the song, but it's about the song, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, ultimately, the winning pick here is what we're saying is the best disco song. What's the most emblematic of disco? Nothing is more emblematic of disco than Donna Summer. And as you were talking about it, Gary, I was in my mind playing the song and the way it does build. And there's a whole part of that song towards the end where it is literally like her just cooing to the song. It's instrumental, and it is just made for dancing, right? It's like the purpose of the song is to go out and dance, and that's disco. And so for that reason, you were going to say something.
One last thing I want to say, just because, like, we are music aficionados. I equate Last Dance as a disco song the way Don't You Forget About Me felt in the 80s. Like, it's that last moment, we're all together having a great time. It might be the last time. And Gary said, there's a line in there about, my last chance for romance. That's not even what I take away from this song. It's, you can be with a group of people on this dance floor and feel the togetherness. And it's not about, I need to find a man or I need to find a woman. It's the togetherness. And we all just had this experience, and this is the last dance. And, disco didn't last forever. And it thankfully is having resurgence in other genres, and it birthed other genres. And that's its final contribution to pop culture. So that's what I'm going to say about this song.
It's a really good argument, Eric. I really appreciate that. Carissa,
I hear you.
Yep.
And I get it. And I'm going to go down saying that I Will Survive was VH1's number 100 greatest dance songs. It was number 2 in the Rolling Stone poll of best disco songs of all time, with number 1 being Staying Alive. So I am backed by a lot of people is what I'm saying. And so I feel okay with this being the hill that I die on. in this episode.
Well, you're not going to die. You're going to survive.
That's right. You will survive.
Exactly. It's empowerment, not desperation, like Last Dance.
Although I don't know if Last Dance is desperation the same way that some of her other songs are. It's not like
it's more nostalgia. I think
it is, and I think Derek's point was really well taken. I can think of the number of times I was out at the disco, which makes me think I'm not as old. Like not the actual disco. I'm talking like the club, right?
Yeah.
But like where I was out at the club with my friends, and it's closing time, and just like this was such a fun night, and I'm excited to be having those moments again. Right now that we're post-pandemic, we won't take them for granted maybe the way we did before. But that is exactly what Last Dance is summoning. It's that spirit and that feeling. And you're right. You sold me. Good job. I love it when I get swayed. Carissa, I think either one of these would have made great answers, and I completely understand where you're coming from on I Will Survive, but I'm giving it to Donna. So with 3 out of 4 votes, our pick for the best disco song is Last Dance by Donna Summer. Do you agree? Do you think that we should go right out the door? Don't turn around now because we're not welcome anymore. Tell us how you really feel by leaving a comment on this episode at greatpopculturedebate.com or find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. While you're there, make sure that you subscribe and follow the podcast so that you can hear about what new debates are coming soon, vote in open polls, and even decide which topics we tackle next. I want to say thank you to my panel. You always make me feel mighty real, and thank you for listening. If you loved what you heard, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can get even more exclusive content and even get episodes a whole day early. We hope you have a good one, and remember, everyone is entitled to their wrong opinions. Bye.